All right, welcome to the Meat Dudes. I'm Evan, and I am here today with Jim Skartvedt of Renew Livestock and 5 Bar One Meat. How are you doing, Jim?
I'm great, Evan. How you doing today?
Oh, good, man. Good. I'm excited to chat with you, man. You got a lot of cool things happening. And I always like to start off, though, with my question here. Why Wagyu beef? Why do you like Wagyu beef? Why do you feed it to your family? Why do you raise Wagyu beef? Why Wagyu beef?
Yeah, and I think there's a quite a there's list is long, but the
I know.
biggest two for me is the health benefits and the eating experience. Right, those are the two biggest ones. When you can combine that kind of flavor and enjoyment with something that's healthy, why not? It's a better question, I feel like. So it's
Absolutely.
pretty. We really enjoy raising them. We really enjoy the eating experience too, and I think that's the two main driving forces. And then, I'm kind of a bigger feller, and they just had the doctor this morning, and my the blood pressure is perfect, right? And that normally does go hand in hand, but because of the you're eating a healthy product all the time.
And that's what we really want to start pushing and talking more about is those health benefits, man. I think it's such a unique product, this Wagyu beef, and there's more tests coming out every single year about the fatty acid profiles and things like that, man. So it's cool, man. I'm glad to hear it. And we talk so much about Wagyu. I talk with people who raise Wagyu beef, but then when I talk to consumers just on the street or at our butcher shop, a lot of people are intimidated or scared by Wagyu. Why do you think people are kind of still intimidated by it?
I think there's multiple reasons. Some I think the price, they get a little scared about that. But also I think, you see on Chopped and all these different food shows of people doing, extremely over the top type of things. And so they're like, oh, I can't do that. I'm never going to do that. Right. And that's the exposure that they have to it. When honestly, you just cook a roast in the crock pot, and it's going to be the best roast you ever had, most tender roast you ever had, right? And it's simple. That's the cool thing about it. You don't need to do anything with Wagyu, but I think people get really intimidated because of the you see it at if you see it at a restaurant, it's top shelf, and they're going to doll it up with a lot of things that are hard to do to the average person. So there, you get in your mind like, well, the only way I can have Wagyu is if I have this out of this world experience. But it's actually, if you eat it on an everyday basis, it doesn't need much. Salt, pepper, and garlic takes it a long, long ways, right?
I
It's
love it.
really simple.
For sure, for real, man. And like the roast too is such a, so many roasts just get overlooked. And I mean, when you think Wagyu, I think a lot of people they think that A5, they think that full blood ribeye and that tomahawk that's super marbled. But you could go buy a roast, for a really good price out there and feed your family. And because a lot of that stuff, doesn't get picked up as much, right? Everybody wants the Hollywood. So yeah, you
Yeah,
don't have to go to a restaurant. You can
for sure.
get a cool, unique cut that nobody wants. The bavettes and the flat irons that we all
Yeah,
love, but that the general public thinks, that they don't really want to try. So, yeah, there's
right.
so many
Yeah,
cool
those,
cuts out there.
those flat irons out of Wagyu are just unbelievable. I mean,
Dude.
you'll fool people thinking they're ribeyes, right? I
Oh,
mean, they're
yeah.
so good.
Oh, my gosh. I know. My wife, who doesn't hardly even eat any red meat, man, I gave her some flat iron. She was like, this is actually really good. I'm like, yeah, this is good meat, dude. Oh my gosh. Well, let's talk about Renew Livestock Company, man. What do you guys do? What are you all about? How do you help the Wagyu industry, and how do you help put a better steak on the plate at the end of the day?
Right. So our whole mantra is, we're to help the independent producer stay independent, and also everything we do points to that eating experience of going prime, right? Making these cattle go prime. So what we do as a company is we manage everything up to the harvest floor, everything on the live side. So we take care of the genetics, right? We provide people bulls. We provide, make sure they're going on good cows. We provide people nutrition guidance, both on the cow side and in the feedlot. Then we help with the transportation of them too, because a really good trucker is worth a lot. A really bad trucker can ruin a 3-year project because that's about what it takes to get these Wagyu calves. When you turn out that Wagyu bull, it's 3 years later then we're finally get to enjoy the product.
Yeah.
So a bad trucker can really ruin it. And we use one company, Dry Creek, out of Minnesota, that's just phenomenal. They're an unbelievable trucking company, so we just use them exclusively. They're great that way. And then we're also in charge of making sure the claims being made on the labels are are being done in the field first off, and then matching whatever program that their claims are making, hormone free versus
Mhm.
an all natural program, and all those kind of deals, and then making sure the cattle match that, and then ultimately is the cattle are delivered in a timely manner, and that we maximize our quality grade because that's they don't go prime and wagyu. It doesn't do us to look good.
Yeah,
Choice wagyu still tastes good. It's just not very marketable, right, for these
yeah, that's not
companies.
marketable. That's
Still tastes
interesting.
good.
I think it's interesting to, you talk about keeping the independent, rancher independent. And that's something, that for me and Tyler and the meat dudes, we love, talking to independent ranchers that have them from birth to harvest and understand what their cattle are doing. And to me, that's like where I think Wagyu is best. It's those passionate people that really love the product and really love to raise those cattle because it is harder to do. You say it takes 3 years. It's longer than that 14 to 18 months than in normal cattle. So I think that's so good for the industry. It's trying to keeping these people independent and keeping them doing the right things and then verifying what they're doing because that gives the consumer so much more confidence. And that's really, I think, what Wagyu is lacking because it's new and it's just hard to get that consumer confidence out there.
Right. And it's been amazing to watch over the last, I've been in this for about 25 years and in the Wagyu side. And it's been interesting from when we started. If you'd say Wagyu, they're like, what are you talking about?
Oh,
And
look.
now everyone just knows about it, but now there's a lot of misconceptions, right? So
Yeah.
now we as an industry need to do a better job of being more transparent, being more open, more vulnerable about how things actually happen, how things get done, and that's kind of the ag industry in general, right? We've kind of we go out and get our work done, and we feed the world, right? That's kind of, but that isn't the best in terms of because we got some groups now that are pretty anti-ag, and so we gotta not necessarily defend ourselves, but we need to do a better job telling our story.
I totally agree, man. And that's one reason why, we do what we do and we love talking to people like you because you guys care about the product and the industry and the people in the industry. And it's a hard industry. So, we appreciate, you doing what you do, man, and giving that
Yeah,
verification because that helps us. I would say me and Tyler, we run a butcher shop and a restaurant and multiple restaurants. We want to be able to say this Wagyu is this, it's this product, it was fed this, it was from birth to harvest here, whatever. We want to be able to tell that story to make that consumer so much more comfortable with that purchase because a lot of times when they go to the store, they're just buying meat and they're going to buy the cheapest meat that they can get because nobody wants to spend more money if you don't know why you should be spending more money. But
right,
if you have these
exactly.
verifications and you understand the story and you know that it's a better product, it's a healthier product, it wasn't filled with a bunch of crazy things over, down here and over here and shipped all over the place and then finally made it back to the US and is, consumed here. So, to me, having those verifications, man, are so important. So you were talking about, what you do at Renew Livestock and how yeah, I thought it was really interesting to talk about how the marbling of the Wagyu cow, you can actually find it starting to form in utero, you were saying?
Right. Yeah, and this goes with any breed,
Yeah,
Angus, whatever, all cattle.
for sure.
But obviously, there's more bang for your buck on the Wagyu side because we're dealing with more genetic potential on the marbling. But actually, during the second trimester in the mama cows, they were actually mapping and expressing our marbling gene in the embryo, which is just amazing to me. And like, especially when we're talking about up north, a lot of times that's when we're kicking those cows out on corn stalks in our spring calving herds, or like forget about y'all till the snow flies. We actually need to be paying attention a little bit to make sure those cows aren't going backwards because it actually would affect the marbling some. But just the simple fact our science has gotten so good that we know that that second trimester will affect the marbling in that end result, right? And in that carcass hanging. The University of Nebraska did some great research studies on that, and it's just amazing that they can do that. I mean, it's
That's
but so then that's where for us personally, we like to help those guys make sure they're keeping their cows in good shape, because that's why. And when you're raising cows, you talk about body condition score. You want them in the middle of the road because that means all their buckets are getting filled and everything's happening. Because the least amount, the thing that's the last priority is reproduction. That's the lowest thing on it. So if the cows aren't breeding back, if they're thin, they won't breed back, and then obviously they're not going to make any money. Well, if they're not doing it that way, well, they're definitely not putting any marbling down then either, right? So then
yeah.
we got to keep those cows in good shape. We got to put some gas in the engine.
It's how important is that, because when you talk about Wagyu, we want to see the beautiful marbling and the health benefits on the plate at the end of the day. So, what does it take to get, what are some things that help a cow become more marbled, a Wagyu cow become more marbled, and things that really hurt it?
In my opinion, it's 50% genetics. Okay. So I got to make sure the mama cows are right kind, and the sire is the right type of bull that can make a lot of marbling and still grow and do all those things. Then the other half is the environment, right? And we're trying to control that environment as much as we can. We're not always in great spots. You get out in Montana, the Midwest and Iowa and all them, you get those nasty winters. Those cows do all right in those times, but we still gotta take care of them because they have to have gas in the tank, right, to be able to have energy and protein to convert it into their growth. So in my opinion, and you have people that argue with you, but I think it's 50-50 in my opinion, that
Yeah.
it's 50% genetics. If you don't have the genetics there, it doesn't matter how good you take care of them.
No. No. Yeah.
But if you can have the best genetics in the world, and if you don't feed them right, and if you don't do all the other things correct, have the right health protocols, it doesn't matter either. Right?
And what about like stress? Stress on the cows,
Stress
right?
is a huge one, and that falls on the environmental side, right? And so that's why we do so many things we do, because we're trying to lower that stress in those animals, right? Every producer, we don't work this hard because we want to be cruel to these animals, right? That's like one of the biggest fallacies I think in the world, and the people that raise livestock want to be mean to these animals. No, we're it's not an easy life. So these people aren't like going out of their way to be cruel to these animals. It doesn't. We're not made that way, and another part affects the bottom line too. But ultimately, you're doing it because you care about caring for animals, and so we minimize stress every way we can. That's why you put windbreaks up in the winter. It's why you bed cattle when it's muddy. It's why you feed them every day at the same time because
Mhm.
it's a lower stress environment. They're
Yeah.
creatures of habit. They're going to go to the same spot in the bunk every time, right?
Yeah.
If you watch 100 head of it and they're in that same pen, they will hit that same spot every time.
It's crazy.
They're no different than we are, right? We,
Yeah.
we sit in the same spot in church
Yeah.
every time. You got your pew. Well,
Yeah.
if you go a lot, and it's the same kind of concept. So you want to reduce those stresses
Yeah.
as much as you can. There's still going to be stress, just like in our own lives, but we do all we can to reduce it.
Yeah. No, man. I like it. And when talking about reducing stress and raising these animals the right way, they turn out amazing, amazing marbling and also the health benefits. And I think the health benefits are such a controversial thing right now because a lot of people, when they think, meat, they think it's terrible. You shouldn't eat red meat. My mom still tells me, don't eat a lot of red meat. I'm like, well, I'm eating Wagyu, so it's okay. But, what do you know and understand about some of the health benefits? What are some of your favorite things and some misconceptions?
Yeah, I think a big one is the grass-fed one. When people are eating, and we see this with our meat company at Five Bar, when we go to farmers markets, oh, I got to have grass-fed. And some people want to do it because, hey, cows are supposed to be raised on grass. Okay, I got that. But if you're doing, most of the people are doing it for health benefits, right? If you're doing it because of the fatty acid profile, because the average grass-fed steak isn't always the best. It tastes gamier. It just does. Part it's on grass. But if you're wanting to have a really good eating experience and get the same health benefit, we could eat if we got two ribeyes sitting here, I could eat a quarter of that ribeye of Wagyu, get the same health benefit because of there's not much fat in the grass fed, there's volume wise. So you could eat a whole 12 ounces of that and only get so much fat. I could enjoy, 3, 4 ounces of Wagyu. I probably have more fatty acid health benefit from it, had a very enjoyable eating experience, and about the same kind of money when you only eat a quarter versus the whole thing, right? So that's probably one of the biggest things that I think we've I don't know about misled. I think people have just kind of made a lot of assumptions, and we haven't done a great job of explaining that, right? Because most grass-fed beef is really, really lean
Hmm.
because it's on grass, right? There's no energy in it, so those cattle don't get fat.
Hmm.
But we're finding the fat's actually good for us, right? I mean, this carnivore diet, those research studies are wild. I
Yeah.
mean, what's coming back there? So if we're doing our grass fed beef for the health benefits, they've got to be careful. But I think there's alternatives that can get just as good at health benefits and have maybe a little more enjoyable experience, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, totally. And we're talking a lot about grass fed right now. I've talked to River Valley Wagyu who does grass fed, grass finished, and there's a lot of people who do it right, a lot of people who don't do it right, who just do it for the look, obviously. But I think with Wagyu grass fed, that always intrigued me because I got one of his steaks from River Valley, and I was like, this looks like it's almost prime. Like it actually had like great fat in there, because of the genetics. It didn't look like a full blood or ribeye or anything like that, but it looked pretty dang good, and I was pretty impressed. So, but there's just you're right. I don't know if people really understand why they want grass fed. They think that the grain is just terrible for them, and we pushed that so hard with in our society that the cows just get force fed all this grain and then just ballooned up and everything like that. When we're and that maybe that does happen in some places, but a lot of these places are raising great cattle. They're great ranchers, and especially a lot of these Wagyu independent places, ranches out there that just really do the right things and are small and are just trying to raise some good cattle the right way, man. And that's what we try to push here and try to find those places that are close to you that are small, that the whole story, and that maybe are even verified by Renew Livestock, or that have won the American Wagyu Association Best Steak, or that have been tested by the Triple Crown. Like I think we need more of those out there because there's a lot of just labels. Grass fed is great if it's done right and everybody and you want that. Totally, that's fine. But like you said, you can eat a smaller portion of Wagyu and get more fatty acid profile and more, a way better eating experience than in the grass fed at the grocery store. So man, I
Right.
totally agree with you on that, man. I think
And
it's so funny.
I think that's the one thing too about Wagyu. It typically will fill you up faster too because it's richer, right?
For
It's more.
sure.
So you're not going to eat, especially if it's a high marbled one. You're not gonna eat a 16-ounce steak, right? Or you're gonna be real sick. The meat sweat's something fierce. So I mean, it's kind of a give and take on what you're looking at, and
Yeah.
so I think that's something too. And I think we're doing a better job, but there's a lot of room for improvement of explaining, the health benefits on the Wagyu, especially.
Yeah, man. I agree. I agree. And it is hard because I feel like there's a study for everything that you want to see and then a study against it. So it is hard to, these days to really put out the correct information when there's studies out there that are saying, oh, actually, it's not that great. So I know there's a lot of people out there. Like I was just talking to Desi Sakali of the Triple Crown Steak Challenge and all the testing that she does, what she's trying to push forward with the health benefits. So there's a lot of people out there that are doing good things and things that you do and showing the verification, man. Like that is like to me, that is just absolutely what this industry is just lacking. And we just need like we want that information. We can just throw it out there and be like, check this out. You're gonna feel better when you eat, in moderation. We eat a great steak like this and you don't have to just stick to your Mediterranean diet. You can actually have some of this great meat, and it's well raised and it's verified and it's healthy for you. And if we had that, man, like I think the Wagyu game would just be 1,000% change. It would just flip overnight if people actually understood a lot of the stuff that we understand. They'd be eating it every single, at least a few times a week instead
And
of,
most of the people that once they get on it,
oh
they're
yeah,
like, "You've ruined me.
I
You've
know.
ruined me." I'm like, "How's that?" Well, I don't order beef now, guys. I said, "Well, still order beef and support the beef industry. Just enjoy the Wagyu at home." Right? I mean, that's just
Exactly,
different.
man. I know, dude. We got people coming in from super nice restaurants in Seattle to buy their meat from us, because and they work at like really nice places and maybe even a nice steakhouse, here and there. And they come in, they're like, "Well, I like your guys' meat. It's actually really good." I'm like, "I know, it's different." At least, American Wagyu, I want to get into American Wagyu because I love talking about what that means and how that, that name kind of scares people. But I think to me, I I think that that is just totally changing the game right now in the Wagyu industry. And so I want to ask you, what is the name American Wagyu? What do you think of when you hear the name American Wagyu?
For us, I mean that's our half bloods, right? I mean,
Okay. Okay.
ideally half blood and above, right? I don't get hung up on. I know some people. It's really important. Is it half? Is it three quarters? Is it full? Whatever. My whole thing is we're after the eating experience, right? That's my whole thing. So we do mostly would be American Wagyu or half bloods, right? So we breed the Wagyu bull back to either Angus cows. We're doing more dairy crosses because our numbers are down, right, on the whole cow herd in the country. So we got to diversify some, and they're made every month, right? It makes it a lot easier when you're sitting there trying to sell cattle every week, and when they're made every month in a dairy system, man, it makes life a lot easier for us. So we do both that way. Um, and so for me, the American Wagyu, I just feel like it's anything of Wagyu influence here in America being
Yeah.
produced, right?
Just raised in America.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it should be. I know
Yeah.
that's not necessarily how it's defined right now. That's the frustrating thing. And then I think our USDA, they are trying to define some of that. And, in 2030, we're going to have some new rules go into effect.
Good.
And we'll all
Really.
be here before we know it. And that'll be exciting, with Authentic Wagyu program that the AWA and the USDA have done together. I just got on the AWA board, American Wagyu board here, got
Cool.
elected. I started January. So,
Oh, nice, man.
we'll be able to help with that some too. And I think that's exciting because there does need to be truth. There needs to be transparency in terms of what we're doing and some accountability too, right?
For sure.
So I think that's good that way. But for me, I feel like it's any Wagyu influenced animal here in America, right? And USDA defines that as it's got to be half blood and higher, and I'm fine
Yeah.
with that. I think that's
Yeah.
good
That's good. Yeah.
because we can get, we're still getting 80% prime on these loads on these half blood.
Right. Oh,
I
I
mean,
know. It sounds so funny when you say like half blood, because people are like, "Oh, I want it full." No, like look at it. It's beautiful. I mean, most people eating an F1 cross steak, it would blow their minds. It'd be like, "This is the best New York I've ever had in my life." And you're like, "Yeah, yeah, exactly. Got to ease them in. Got to ease
yeah,
them in."
and I'm not against full bloods. We raise them ourselves too, and we sell some. But some to an American palate, those wild ones that are 40% above IMFs, the A5s. A lot of people don't like those. It's too much.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Oh, I tried to eat full blood ribeye. I think it was like 4th of July. I just brought it over to my mom's house and I'm cooking it up and I'm like, yeah, I got this huge full blood ribeye. So excited. And I'm like, I cannot eat this whole thing. There's no way that I could eat this whole thing, man. Like, and I love meat. I eat so much steak and I'm like, there's no way. You got to share it, man. You got to share it. It was amazing, but like another educational piece is that if you are starting off with Wagyu, you've never had it before, you don't need to buy a $100 huge full blood ribeye to eat yourself, because
right,
it's gonna be too much. It's gonna be too insane, So eat
yeah,
it, share it with 4 people, and you're gonna be super happy. But yeah, you're
no,
right.
for sure.
At A5, Wagyu, and we just judged that best Wagyu steak in America. And a lot of people submitted just crazy American Wagyu, and they almost all looked like A5, and it was awesome. Like for something like that, it was it was incredible. It was incredible. With a bunch
Right.
of people who love Wagyu, who understand it. But when I was talking to the winner, I was like, you can't put that out almost like in front of like normal people because they're going to be like, I don't know about, I don't want that. Like that's too much.
Right.
I've never had this before. It scares me.
And that's a little bit of a challenge because then people also are going to buy Wagyu. They're like, well, I want the stuff that they see the A5 that's
Yes.
advertised, right? And it's like, that's fine, but to make that, it takes so much more money. Try this, that's still prime, right? It's still really good stuff. But I think that's a hurdle. We've done a little bit of disservice to ourselves by showing, hey, we can make this, but but then it takes a lot of money to make that. Not everyone can afford that side of it or even chooses to enjoy it. So I think that's a little bit of a challenge. So people in their mind are like, man, if it doesn't look like an A5, I don't want it.
Yeah.
But then you try that high prime that's would technically be an A3. It's an amazing eating experience still, right? It's tender. It's just awesome flavor. And I think that's always the thing that floors me about the Wagyu is the aftertaste you have after Wagyu. It's
Yeah.
almost like eating that Brock's caramel, right? It almost has a sweet little foam on your mouth that's just so
Yeah.
good and satisfying. And I just really enjoy that part of it.
That's oh man, I love it. You're right though. It is funny that it is almost like a double-edged sword where people we would have like amazing, F1 cross or Wagyu in our case, and people go, that's not Wagyu. I've seen Wagyu. That's not Wagyu. I'm like, well, it is, and it's really good, and you would actually love it so much if you just ate this instead of a
Yeah,
small 2 ounces of A5, which you're gonna eat, and you're gonna go, wow, this is really cool. This is a really cool eating experience, but I'm not gonna eat it again for a while. Like I want to have that steak. So that's the educational piece of trying to that's why to me like American Wagyu having that conversation and having it mean the same thing to me and to you and the American Wagyu Association and everybody out there that raises Wagyu, like if we could all say the same thing of what it means and get us on the same page, then the consumer is going to kind of start to understand it a little bit more.
right.
That's who
Yeah,
we need to teach, man. They need to understand what the hell
right.
this is because it's it's the best thing out there.
Right, and that's where like CAB has done an awesome job, right? When they did these, they didn't when they first started the certified Angus beef deal, but they're 40 years ahead of us, but they've
Yeah.
done a great job of really standardizing. Now, they literally went off of visuals, and it's just a black hide and a grade, right? And there's no genetic correlation back required, and that's one thing I do appreciate about the authentic program. We're going to have a genetic requirement coming back starting in 2030 that they have to be out of a registered bull or a registered cow, either way, but it has to be proven. Oh man, how much more transparent can you get than that? That's great.
I know. I love that program. I can't wait for it to really get out there. I know we get excited, but I'm like, there's only a few people who have it right now, so you're not going to see it very much.
Right.
Once it really gets out there, that authentic Wagyu label, it's gonna be game changing. I can't wait. Hopefully, in the next 5, 10 years,
Yeah.
I always make this comment about how it's kind of like the cannabis industry because I was in the cannabis industry here in Seattle, and when I first got into it in 2011, everyone was like, "Oh, it's ridiculous. It makes you stupid." But now, like my mom's taking a CBD pill, or like a gummy to go to sleep, and it's like 15 years later, it's just this normal thing, and you're like, "Oh yeah, it's not that bad actually." So that's what I want to see for Wagyu in the next 5 to 10 years. It's like, oh yeah, like people walking into the grocery store going, God, I feel like an F1 cross tonight. Oh, maybe a purebred would be cool too. Like imagine having that conversation, right? Like that would, if I overheard that right now, I could lose my mind. I'd love it.
And I think that's coming because if you look at where we came from the last 15 years, gosh, it's 9 day difference. I mean,
Oh,
it's really accelerated the last 5 years, and it's helped those food shows and all that has helped a lot, right? The exposure on some of those bigger shows has been big, so that's at least it's become people you don't have to explain anymore, which is really nice.
yeah. But you said you've been raising it for 25 years, so that's like the year 2000. So like nobody nobody if you weren't directly in the super small industry even knew what it was in 2000, barely, right?
Right, and that was my in-laws that did all that. I went back to part of their operation, and '03, I guess it was. But my wife and I started dating in 2000. Ironic thing is, I made fun of her for raising those at first.
I
Then,
bet,
now,
dude.
yeah, and here we are.
That's
So
funny.
yeah, that's. But they've been doing it, and they've been doing it probably 10 years before that. So they've been at it a long time.
So what was your first impression when you heard that her family raised Wagyu? What did you first think? Because you've been a
I
right?
and so I came from livestock judging kind of show world growing up, and I made fun of her. Let's be honest, because phenotypically, how they look,
Mm-hmm.
they're not your average, right? They're frail boned, they're flatter made, they're high flanked. That's like all the things you pick as a judge. Um, they're not,
Yeah.
except when you put them on the rail, then all of a sudden they blow everything out of the water,
Then
right?
yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
so then that's the challenge, and so then in some ways, which is kind of ironic, some of these cattle that they've picked in the Angus breed that have really high marbling, they've had tendencies to look a little more Wagyu like, right? A little
Really.
frailer bone, a little more refined, and so maybe we're selecting for some of the wrong criteria depending on what you're looking for, right? From that way. But at the same time, the way we've selected as an industry, we've been able to feed the world. We've been
Yeah,
able to have
exactly.
the smallest cow herd since the 50s and still produce record amount of beef, right? Because of the way we've selected for power conversion and all those things, right? Because cattle are the world garbage can. They convert things that no one else can digest, or
Yes.
ruminants are, I should say, into protein. Well, what more could we ask for, right? So that's been a great.
I love that. Yeah, I just had a great conversation with Tyler McCann of Wyoming Cowboy Cuts, and we talked a lot about just that upcycling and all these different things that he's seen out there of like being finished on, on the what's it called, that produce, like the ugly produce, that doesn't get sold. Like he's like, there's this herd down in California that takes all the ugly carrots and then they upcycle that. It would just be thrown away.
Yeah,
Or the Coors Light brewery can't reuse
yep.
this their hops after this, so we
The
upcycle
brewer's
that.
game.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, and
it's
all the
it's
byproducts coming off
fascinating,
ethanol plants, right? I mean,
right?
it's just awesome.
They would just
So,
sit there and just create crap for us, but they upcycle it. So and
right.
yeah, man. I mean, so that's interesting though, because there is with Wagyu and with just raising cattle in general. I mean, the purpose of it is to feed the world, right? We need to feed. We need to actually, create this protein to feed people. So is there like this balance? I always in like 10, 15, 20 years, do you think that ranchers that maybe don't care about Wagyu are going to say, I'm still going to buy this Wagyu bull and I'm just going to put it into my herd just to create a little bit better beef? I'm not even going to call it Wagyu. I'm just going to use some of those genetics just to start like creating some better beef out there. Or do you think people even care? Where do you
There's
see
some
that
of
going?
that. Yeah, there's some of that happening now. Even some guys are using it just to make commercial beef higher grading. So like they're doing quarter bloods. They're not necessarily selling it as Wagyu. They're just it's just going to the regular market. I think that there'll be probably more of that because especially where our tendencies are now, right? We went through the 80s and we went lean everything, right? And so it took a long time to get over that, right? So like our parents came off that and they're like, no fat, low fat, everything, right? And now we're flipping over and now we're going carnivore, all the fat and meat you can eat, right? So and you're also seeing a tendency like when you go, I was a speaker at a deal out in Las Vegas and at a cattle deal, and when you look at all their menus, it's not CAB or choice beef anymore, it's all prime, right? The restaurants now, you're going out to celebrate, you're going to go have prime beef. You're not going to have just choice beef. So I think that's the other thing that's going to drive this is we're getting as a society the flavor of prime beef. And we're like, yeah, this is good. This is what we want. So I think we're going to see more and more emphasis on quality, right? And that's still doing efficient. That's what Wagyu's got to keep working on that on the efficiency side of things.
Yeah,
But we're making a lot of progress, right? We used to feed out those half bloods to 28, 29 months old, feed them out 23 to 24 months old. So we've knocked off that's still making 80% prime.
that's huge. Yeah.
Well, so you knock off 6 months. All right, so the carbon footprint people, hey guys, we've knocked off 6 months here. We're making a lot of progress, right? In a hurry. So I think there's it's being worked on. It's good, but yeah, I think our tendencies are to we want a higher quality, and I think when you look at the younger generations, they're looking for an eating experience, right?
Yeah.
More than what probably generations before.
Yeah.
So they're okay with going out and spending a little extra money as long as it's good, right? So I think we got some there. I think there's tendencies in how we're spending our money, and I think also how we're celebrating too.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think you see more and more people cooking in house. I think COVID really, you know, I think did probably a great thing for the barbecue world and doing more at home. And now with all these direct delivery stuff, I'm always amazed how much we ship to people. In
Yeah.
our little meat company, and most of them are, they're having a celebration and they're going to cook it at home, right? And
Yeah.
it's that's like the best compliment you can have. I feel like.
No, you're right, man. You're right. I think the younger generation, they will spend a little bit more money. And I say younger generation as like us and younger, they'll spend the money if it's worth it. And I think it's our job to prove to them that it's worth it. And that's really what, we got to just keep doing. Like we talk about the education all the time, obviously. How do we keep proving to them that it is worth eating this more potentially a little bit more expensive Wagyu beef and if we can do that and get them to understand, yeah, there's so many health benefits, there's so many great things that it can do for you, then I think we're gonna win them over that CAB, like you said, because it kind of like, doesn't mean as much.
All right. And I think we're also seeing with the carnivore diet becoming so popular, you're starting to see people not eating just for energy and protein, or, now we're eating for our health. And so I think there's two folds that come with that. Wagyu fits that really well, first off. And regular beef does too. I don't want to be like Wagyu beef versus regular beef, right? They both bring a lot to the table from a health benefit standpoint. But the other side of it too is when we start talking about eating for our health, then all of a sudden, people are really worried about where we're at beef price wise and all that. But if we're starting to eat that for health, I think people are okay with spending a little extra, right, to get the better quality stuff, to make sure we're getting the high quality American made uh, beef, right? Because it's for our health now versus just consuming. And
Yes.
I think there's a change there too. So I think we can maintain these prices, and still, I think the consumer will still choose to pay them.
Yeah, I do too. And it's not, not the thing that I always talk about and love about Wagyu is there's so many more cuts and it's not just the ribeyes and the New Yorks and tenderloins anymore. I mean, I rarely eat that. I own a butcher shop and I rarely eat those. I'll grab a big ribeye every once in a while. But honestly, like I'm grabbing the bavettes and the flanks and the skirts and the zabutons and the delmonicos and I'm trying to we'll take roasts like you were talking about in the beginning and just roast a beautiful wagyu even like eye of round and make some great roast beef and just do everything utilize that whole cow because those cuts that nobody wants that nobody wants, right, are so much more affordable now and it's not even that much more than your typical beef out there. If I went like I could buy a zabuton for the same price per pound as probably a ribeye out there, and a wagyu zabuton is going to be 10 times better than just some ribeye that I find in the grocery store.
Right, and we love to take those because it also seems to the tenderness and the marbling's in all those other cuts. That's the part that people don't
Seriously, yeah.
realize. Once they have them, they're like, "Oh my gosh!" Like we do, we love to do poor man's burn-ins with a Wagyu chuck roast.
But
It will
yeah,
totally feel people,
a
right?
wagyu chuck.
They will be, yeah. I mean, it's just unbelievable how. I mean, they will think it's literally brisket still, right? Like a true burn-in, but it's not, and it's just amazing to me because of the amount of tenderness and fat that we have in there.
Dude, it's I know. So what do you like to cook out there? Like if you could have one cut and you're just going after it, man, what are you grabbing?
I'm a big fan of brisket when done right.
Yeah,
I love brisket when
yeah.
it's done really right.
And you
We just
smoke
did
it?
one last time. Yeah, we smoke it. Yes, like the one we did. I just did one a couple days ago, or actually ate it last night. I smoked it for like 25 hours, 26 hours, somewhere in there. So really low and slow, and then we hit it 250 for like 3 4 hours. And the Wagyu we typically pull off like 190, 195. I'll let it sit for about 6 hours
Yeah,
and just
it's
wrap
a great rest.
and it turned out pretty decent. That was nice.
Nice, man.
And so that one was pretty good. Just low and slow and take your time. I don't probably trim them as tight as most people do, but that Wagyu fat's pretty decent to keep around. So
Yeah, no, I know. I know. Do you trap it? Like, do you put it like on a sheet pan and then trap that Wagyu fat, or you let it drip?
no, that's why my grill will start on fire next time I do burgers. But I'm a smoker.
I
I
know.
should, but we wrap them. But I do wrap with tinfoil. I don't. We don't. So we try to go to moisture. I like it be as moist as we can.
Yeah, man. Oh, dude, that
So we'll get some pretty good bark on it before we wrap it.
of course. Those Wagyu briskets are pretty big. When we
Right.
talk
They'll
about,
be 15, 20 pounds.
yeah, like it's funny because we talk about how the Wagyu cow kind of looks different, but like that, those briskets are always pretty big when we get them in. They're bigger than our prime ones that we order in. So
Yeah, yeah, and sometimes the way they're made too, right? They're flatter shouldered and longer through the front third.
okay,
So that would add some to it, versus a more traditional Angus type, right? And the way they've selected, right? Angus we kind of we made them a little blockier, right? A little thicker throughout, and the Wagyus are still pretty pretty flat sided, but we got them they're longer in general, so that would make a bigger, longer.
yeah, what else do you like to cook besides that brisket? Like if you had to pick a steak, what are you picking?
A steak, I'm going ribeye. I
You
love a
going
ribeye. A good
ribeye?
ribeye. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
of course. How do
Smoking
you
reverse sear.
you smoke reverse sear? Okay. All right, nice, dude.
Uh, the Wagyu, and I never believed it until I actually did it. Um, in the skillet's amazing, right? The cast iron skillet, it's pretty amazing to do it that way too. Just getting that edge on it.
No,
We're
dude.
actually doing something for my daughter's 18th birthday tonight. We're doing some ribeyes for her birthday.
Oh,
So
nice,
then we always
man.
like to slice them, and then everyone can kind of pick the doneness they want. So that's was
Yeah.
um, Mr. Takeda from Japan. He was one of the original breeders that brought cattle over here. He worked with my in-laws a lot, and he was the first one that showed us that you just start slicing up those steaks, and everyone can kind of take what they want, and how much they want, and stuff. And
Yeah, that's
it
what you
works
got to
pretty
do.
good.
That's what you got to do with those ribeyes, man. So Mr. Takeda, you worked with him, or you said your in-laws did? Because they're early on. They're
Yeah,
early.
no, yeah, no, they fed for Mr. Takeda, and then I met him numerous times there, and they're pioneers in this whole deal
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, they are, man. That's some early. That's crazy, man. Back in the 2000s, man. In
Yep.
the early 2000s. Wow, man. So what is
So originally that started. Our kids wanted to because when we moved down here from Iowa in 2020. We're just outside of Fort Worth in Azle, Texas, and we once people found out we did cattle and Wagyu, they wanted to start buying quarters and, okay, can we get cuts and stuff. So our kids came up with the idea of starting this little meat company, and so we kind of, I suppose I started in 82, three, somewhere in there, and we just kind of let it sit there. And as people needed it, we had cattle and stuff we could do for them, and we sold some quarters and halves here and there. And then we got oversupplied in 24 with fat cattle and stuff, and so kind of determined as a team from Renew Livestock in our family that probably worth maybe putting a little more resources behind it and slowly walk into building it. And so that's what 5R1. They came up with the name. It's five gods serving one. Five kids serving one God is what they came up with. So that was pretty cool. So they're part owners in it. Um, uh, and then Danelle and I are to my wife. And so then we do a lot of direct sales locally in the DFW area, and then we ship across the country too. So
nice, man?
yeah,
Okay, so what is one thing about Wagyu beef that people don't know but they should know?
I think that one is how long it takes and how many people pulling in the same direction to get that process done. Right, all the way it's a 3-year process. By the time we turn that bull out, you got the rancher with the cows that's going to raise that calf. You got the feedlot that's going to feed those calves out. Then you got the trucker that, that's going to go and haul those cattle down there. Then they get to the harvest facility, and we got all the people that are doing that part of it. And then you're going to truck it from there into the cold storage. And then it gets shipped out. And all along the way, everyone's pulling the same direction. So we have a high quality product, right? And I think that's the part people don't realize because we're so insulated from it now because so few people are tied to farms or ranches, right? That they don't know what all goes into it. And I think, and then on the Wagyu, because of the high end of it and the high quality of it, I think it's magnified that much.
Yeah.
So I think that's the part that most people they don't people don't have a clue like what the American rancher and the cattlemen are doing to get all that there. I think that's and then when you add the Wagyu factor into it, it adds that much more complexity to it.
Yeah, it's a huge process, and all and that's why it's a little bit more expensive, right? And all those things that go into it, and it always amazes me how a lot of the consumers out there think that it's all that money is just going right back to the
Yeah,
rancher, right? Like all these rich ranchers out there really just putting people to shame, like shut up, man.
yeah, no,
It's so
no,
hard.
you look good on paper and that's it. I mean, it's and the
Yeah.
return on investment's horrible. I mean, if they would, if they would see what actually people make, it's like it's just wild. Why? I mean, you kind of be like, why would you do this? I mean, if it's one for the love of it, and I think that's the thing is the passion is there, and but people don't realize that because we're pretty quiet, on average as an ag society, and we just get the work done, and we don't tell our story, and I think it's important to keep telling our story and show people why we do what we do and how we make the best beef in the world. I mean, that's the day in and day out where, the people we're making the best beef in the world. It doesn't matter if it's Wagyu, Angus, or anything. Here in America, that's what we do. And it's hard when we see all this imports coming in, not supporting that, right? That's pretty hard to swallow sometimes. But the tide is changing. You can see it, you can feel it. Buying from local ranchers is important. Knowing where your food's coming from is important. And I think that's going to be a bigger and bigger trend that way. I encourage you to know what's happening.
Yeah. I mean, I absolutely, man. Know your rancher and know your beef. It makes such a huge difference. And it's knowing people like you that are passionate about it. A lot of these ranchers, most of these ranchers are passionate about it. Like you said, they're passionate about feeding people, about raising good beef, and they want to make sure it gets to the plate, and with all the health benefits and all the marbling possible, so you have a great eating experience. So I love it, man. Hey, thank you, Jim. Man, can you tell us where people can find you at Renew Livestock Company?
Yeah, if you just go either to our website, Renew Livestock Company .com is right there. Same with Five Bar One. It's just Five Bar One. Listen, we can help you out any way we can, and we'll sure try to guide people in the right direction if we can't do it. Otherwise, we've got a lot of connections to multiple different deals, and that's what we do.
Nice, man. So yeah, if you're out there and you're a rancher and you're looking for a little bit of help, man, hit up that renewlivestockcompany.com. Check him out, man. And if you're looking for some beef, they can order it through you through that 5bar1meat.com. Is that correct?
Yeah, Five Bar One meatco.com.
Well, hey man, thank you so much for your time today, Jim. It was awesome talking to you and learning the ins and outs of how, this industry kind of works from birth to harvest, and all those things that go into to actually getting the food on the plate. I think sometimes we miss out on those. So I'm glad you talked a lot about that today, even the delivery of it and how it actually gets to you. I think that's important for people to understand, and how long that actually takes, and the time and the commitment that it takes to really create that quality beef. Just like you're a small, or just passionate farmer, man. We really encourage people to go out there and find their local farmers and find the people, understand their story, and know where your meat comes from, and you're gonna have a way better eating experience and support local U.S. farms, man. We need that out there right now. A lot of these people are doing really great things, and we want to keep sharing those stories. So So Jim, man, thank you, dude. We got to, we got to get down. Me and Tyler always say we got to get down to Texas. We got so many places to visit, man. But when we're down there,
Yeah,
man,
come
I'll
on.
hit you up.
Yeah, all right, come on down. It's pretty beautiful out down here now.
Yeah, man, I'm sure that it's nice. The season is nice right now. Well, with that note, man, thank you so much. We'll be in contact, and we'll always be talking. Let us know, what's new out there. Feel free to hit us up all the time, man, and we'll chat soon.
All right, sounds great.
All right, thanks, Jim.